scammers will do all kinds of things. Use our logo, they'll use everything that looks visually the same. If you have been scammed and it has been wire fraud, the best thing for you is time. It's very difficult to reverse a wire because the government considers the recipient of the wire, even if it's part of a scam, to be the owner of the wire once you told your bank to send those funds. There's money laundering going on. If someone calls you and says, hey, can you come meet me at this house or show me this house? If you don't know that person, don't ever go.
Attempted fraud inside a real estate transaction, be it a rental or a sale, is something we are here to talk about with Scott Lynn of Platinum Title.
Hi, Maria. Thank you so much for the opportunity to visit with you and your clients.
Scott, from your position at Platinum Title, how often are you actually seeing wire fraud attempts inside of a real estate sale?
Well, actually, we're seeing it every day. We get inundated with clients, thank goodness to all of you all calling us and saying, hey, are these our wiring instructions? And we're saying, no, they're not. We are getting people that are attempting to change just slightly. As I mentioned once to you before, they're changing like our email addresses to a lowercase I instead of an L in Platinum, and it visually looks the same when you're quickly looking at it, but it's not. So we're seeing it every day, but I'll be honest, it's just not very successful because, thank goodness, all of you guys, and when I say you guys, the agents, are educating your clients on making sure you do call and verify.
So the attempt is every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the success rate, thankfully,
is very
not
low.
as high.
Yeah. I will say this: it is about 6% nationally, and that may sound very small, which it kind of does to me, but that actually equates to hundreds of millions of dollars that is successful. And so it is a great topic to have, to make sure people are being diligent and verifying to make sure they're sending the money to the right place.
Once a wire transfer has taken place and the scammer has gotten through, what resources do you guys have at your fingertips to help resolve that
Well,
issue?
on our end, there's not a lot, other than, unfortunately, to inform them, no, we didn't receive that wire. But the reality is it's very difficult to reverse a wire because the government considers the recipient of the wire, even if it's part of a scam, to be the owner of the wire once you, the sender, has told your bank to send those funds. So we always tell people, if you have been scammed and it has been wire fraud, the best thing for you is time. You need to immediately contact your bank, let them know you've been scammed. You need to file a police report with the local authority wherever you're at. And then you also need to go online. There's a website out there, it's ic3.gov, that you can file a report there to let them know how you were scammed and what's going on with that. I have seen instances where the banks, because it was done quickly enough, have been able to stop the funds from being transferred on. But in many cases, like I said, it's very difficult to retrieve it.
So that's just good luck then if the bank can get involved and stop it in time.
Quick enough, and that's why I said time is the key.
Yeah.
The quicker you can notify the bank, ideally, obviously, to not do it at all, but if it does happen to you, time is the key to make sure. So you get a hold of the bank, file that police report. They'll need that report. The FBI will get involved if it goes from one state to another. And like I said, I've filed 6 police reports here in the Kansas City area in the last 2 years of ones that were successful. The people didn't call and verify the wiring instructions. They went ahead and just wired the monies and had to file those reports, unfortunately.
Wow. Scott, so what's the most important thing a seller or buyer can do to prevent wire fraud?
Verify, verify, verify. Make sure that as an agent, you've told your clients, hey, this is my title company vendor's known phone number, because the scammers will do all kinds of things. They'll not only use our logo, they'll use everything that looks visually the same. It's just a wrong routing number, wrong account number. They'll change phone numbers. Our phone number, as an example, is 5001 at the end. They'll make it 50011, They'll do anything they can to make it look original. So always just make sure your clients know, hey, this is their known contact number, and if you receive any kind of wiring instructions, to call Platinum Title and verify. And if it's not Platinum, if it's another vendor, the same thing for them. Just always call and say, I need to verify some wiring instructions I received. And everybody at our company has the ability to pull those up, look at them, and read those back to the client to make sure that they're sending the money to Platinum Title.
So then, along those lines, so that transposition of a little phone number here and there, if somebody were to dial that, would somebody pick up the phone?
Well, more than likely, they're going to get somebody that says they're Platinum Title, because that's what they're trying to do, is impersonate us.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, they try to make it. I mean, you know, if I were to show you some of the ones that people have sent us, I mean, they've take our wiring instructions to a T. Our logo, it'll say Scott, and it'll say it looks like Platinum Title at LLC.com, but like I said, they've changed the L to an I. You know, it's crazy. One of them, and I believe that gentleman got his money back. It was a cash transaction. They went as far as going to a local Wells Fargo bank here and opened an account in Platinum Title LLC's name.
Wow.
And so when he wired the funds, he thought he was wiring it to Platinum Title LLC. And that particular branch accepted the funds. It went from Kansas City to Texas, and Texas overseas. And I believe the government was able to stop it in Texas before it went overseas. But, and I'm assuming whomever opened that account at the local branch doesn't work there anymore, because they didn't have incorporation papers to do that. But I mean, they're doing everything they can. And you know, so verify before ever sending any money anywhere. And another don't is sometimes the scammers will call and say, when you reach back out to the number you got the email or whatever, they'll say, well, if you'll send us $10,000 more, we'll send you back your $350. They're not sending you a penny back.
That's scam
just
number two.
Yeah, you're not getting anything back. I mean, you know, so I can't say it enough. Verify.
So how do scammers get the details of the transaction? I mean, they've got names, like you said, logos, they've got contact information down to a T. So how is that happening?
Well, unfortunately, we all love the fact, myself included, we love using open source email accounts such as Gmail, Yahoo, different ones like that. And in doing so, that allows for, I used to say, like, you know, shady people in back rooms to scour the internet for this information, but literally now with the introduction, or I should say more the expansion of AI, it basically now has servers and computers sitting somewhere in a building, and it's just doing nothing but constantly monitoring emails as they go across the internet, and they're seeing these keywords, whether it's real estate sale or whether it's wiring instructions, and they're grabbing those, and in a split second, I mean literally that amount of time, because they've already got a program that grabs the original, makes those minor corrections to the email, and then sends back out the spoof email that appears to be the original, and it just happens before you get it. I mean, and you know, there are ways, like when you send an email, if someone hasn't read it, you can recall it, and that's how these systems are able to come in and get it. And you know, it would be better, obviously, if we all used a closed-sourced email and everything, but you know, we all hate it. I mean, that's why we have two-factor authentications and different things like that. But it really is tough. I mean, to keep that information private, even though we want it to be private. I mean, we'll send the wiring instructions encrypted even, and you know, if you've got an open source Gmail account that we're sending to, or you're forwarding your work email to your open source Gmail account. And I'm not trying to pick on Gmail. I personally use Gmail.
Yeah.
You know,
most people do.
It's
right?
it's just really more of what's called an open source code, and it allows for that to happen. There's lots of backdoors, as they call them in programming.
Just assume all your emails being read if you're using open source email.
Exactly, yeah. Unless it's a closed network system like we have internally. I mean, I told you before, I get probably 400 plus attempts of people who try to log into our Platinum Title KSMO.com website. Our web hoster notifies me Every time that attempt has happened, someone's trying to log in, figure out our username and password to get access into our account. And even for us, we have an extra layer of protection because our emails are not even on that website. So if they were to even get in that website, they really can't get into any of our stuff. The only thing they possibly could do is we do have an ability for you to send us money, earnest money, so they could go in and change that and where that earnest money was going, potentially, if they were able to successfully. But I've been here 6.5 years and they haven't quite figured out my password yet. So.
That's what I've got to do, is be better about protecting my password.
Yeah, I will tell you this too. My son believes very much in, there are companies out there, and he's an HR person of a very large company out of California, and he has a random password generator. As he says, I can't tell you any of my passwords to anything I use, because the system creates them automatically and changes them on a regular basis for him. So I don't know, maybe that's something we all need to work on.
So wire fraud is nothing new in Kansas City.
No.
I remember almost, well, it's been over 15 years now. We used to syndicate our listings on Craigslist, and that was way back when we used to promote our listings, and we get calls.
Even around
anymore? I know. We would get calls from the public, and they would be in front of a house we listed, and they said, I was getting ready to send a wire transfer, God knows where, to secure this house. It was listed for rent, right? So like the rental, the whole grabbing listings, stealing pictures and descriptions, and trying to find people that would rent them, that's been going on for a long time. What other scams have you seen related to real estate?
Yeah, well, the biggest ones right now are actually client impersonation. And what I mean by that is both buyer and seller. We've had people who have come to us for closings, and they're saying, oh, my spouse was not able to come, but we sent the documents to them and had them notarized, where they're at, and are going to use them this way. And unless that notary is members of our underwriters associations, and we have 6 different underwriters, and all the notaries have to be on an approved list with them, and unless they're on that list, we won't accept those docs. Now, that's not to say we won't do closings remotely and people in other areas. We just have to hire someone that's a known. So we don't allow people to bring in pre-notarized docs, but they do try it. I've been here, like I said, 6.5 years. It's happened more than a couple dozen times where people have tried to do that. And then on the seller side, people are trying to impersonate sellers. We have had, I had a gentleman that teaches a real estate licensing class, and we were talking about our new wire fraud protection, and I'll talk about that to you in a second, for the sellers. But he had a gentleman who had some rental properties here in town, and he lives in Omaha. He came into town to check on a couple of them that were vacant, and as he pulled up to one, the gentleman was walking around the property with a clipboard, and he asked the guy, can I help you? And the guy says, yeah, I'm here, I'm the home inspector, I'm doing the inspection on the sale of this property. And the guy goes, well, that's news to me. I'm the owner. And someone had forged his name on a real estate contract. They found a vacant property that he had advertised for, that it was available to rent. And they came in and decided, well, I can get this done in a short amount of time, and tried to sell his property. And that does happen. I mean, it happens quite frequently anymore. Like I said, it's not a ton, it doesn't sound like, when you say that, well, that's 6% of all the transactions in the United States, but again, that's hundreds of millions of dollars, so it can't happen. We do now offer an endorsement that's available to a homeowner, so when someone purchases a home, they can add an endorsement that will protect them from that, whether it's somebody that comes in and tries to steal their title after they've closed, or if it was somebody that was trying to sell them a fraudulent home. That's what our endorsement will cover them, to make sure that they've got a valid transaction. Well, our title search will cover them on the purchase side when they're getting ready to buy it, but once they've owned it, the endorsement will cover them to make sure that it doesn't happen to them.
Right, because somebody was buying a house that they were already out inspection money, right? They probably put up earnest money.
Correct.
And so all of that.
So all of that was probably sent to a scammer and long gone, and so it can be substantially expensive to have that happen to you. You know, the other thing I would say too is that as a buyer, you know, you just, like I said, you gotta, you know, there's an old word, caveat emptor, which means let the buyer beware. That just means you have to have diligence, and you have to have a good agent to make sure they're representing you and helping you navigate the transaction, the process, because it is a process, and you need somebody that's skilled in that.
And there's another saying that says, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I bet all these things have all been like under market, right? Like that's what we've seen.
Yeah.
Like, hurry now, do this now because time is running out. We got one deal one day. Like,
and on the fraud side too, where people are stealing titles and things like that. There's been an uptick of advertising on the radio of some companies out there that will send you an email notice that says, hey, that something's been recorded on your property. But the unfortunate thing is it's just an ongoing monthly fee, and they don't do anything to undo the situation. They only notify you. And to me, that's like me coming in and saying, hey, Maria, somebody just stole your car out of the parking lot. Well, it's a little late now. I'm not going to do anything to help you with it. I'm just letting you know somebody drove off with it. Where our endorsement, if they do want to add that to their policy, will protect them from somebody coming and doing that. So.
That's really important protection.
Yeah.
So if a buyer or seller wires money to the scammer, what are the first three things they need to do?
Well, again, like I said, time is really of the essence. It needs to be done immediately. They need to contact their bank that they've sent the money from, inform them they've been scammed. They need to file a police report immediately, and they need to go online to the ic3.gov and file a report there as well to get the feds involved, so they can start looking to see if there's anything the FDIC can do to get in and stop that transaction from going from bank to bank as it gets moved.
Does the FBI ever pull down any rings of, I mean, do they find bad guys?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, as you know, I mean, they're in the process of instituting some searches because there's a lot of money laundering going on right now of people trying to use entities like an LLC, or a very popular thing right now is trust. And so the FDIC is instituting, it's called FinCEN, which stands for the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And they are now, you know, looking at every real estate transaction, trying to see if, not necessarily fraud, but just people that are trying to launder their money that's coming from ill-gotten gains, and they're trying to hide it by getting it into real estate, because real estate's one of the best investments there is out there. You know, and so yeah, there's a ton of government involvement trying to monitor what's happening in real estate transactions and making sure that, you know, people are taken care of if they can.
Yeah, and right now in Kansas City, that's one of the things that people need to think about, why it's become so prevalent, because we're sitting on record high equity positions right now.
Absolutely.
Across the country, and in Kansas City, over 30% of all transactions are conducted in cash. So there's a lot of money floating around, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how should a buyer or seller verify that the title company is who they say they are?
Well, again, number one, it starts with working with a top agent who understands what's going on in the real estate market, what's happening, and working with other vendors that offer similar type service that agent expects to have happen. And so making sure they have a known number that's publicly out there. It's not just from one source. Google it, you know, look on their website, verify that what you have is a known phone number, contact number for that. And if it's for your funds you're wanting to wire for your real estate transaction, your title company, and call and verify. Make sure when you get on that person on the other end, say, hey, I'm calling to verify wiring instructions. And ask them to read those off to you, because we will do that. Everybody at our company can do that, or they'll transfer you to somebody who can do that, and they'll pull up our wiring instructions and they can read them off to you, so you can look at what you received in your email and make sure it's the same.
Did you catch it sometimes right there?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I said the biggest scam lately that we found is they're changing our email addresses. We actually had to pull unfortunately, all of our employee roster off of our website because we used to have it there. So if you needed an email or a contact for Lisa Smith or Margaret Arnold, the owner, or someone like that, you could go there. But because of that, we've had to take all those off. So the only email on our website's mine, and now unfortunately I get all those contacts coming to me. But that's okay.
That makes sense.
But yeah, we've just had to try and do what we can to make sure that there's not information that's out there. So
Reduce risk.
yeah,
Reduce risk.
That's it. And the biggest thing too is here in the Midwest. I mean, it happens again all across the country, but we are very trustworthy people, trusting people, I should say it that way. And we kind of just assume there's not a bad person involved in this. And it's unfortunate, but we do need to put some safeguards on. I tell agents as an example, if someone calls you and says, hey, can you come meet me at this house and show me this house? If you don't know that person, don't ever go do that. I mean, it's just a security issue. You don't know who you're showing up to meet. You don't know that person. It's just not something that you need to be protective of. And like I said, as far as fraud goes, it's just verify before you send that money. Yeah, it may take a few extra minutes, but it'll save you thousands.
One of the things we always try to remind our clients of is that to just trust our team, right? Like the people that we're putting in front of our clients, we know they're more important almost to the degree that we are, because it's so central to what we're all trying to accomplish together, our partnerships. But what would you say from your end is like one of the things that you're trying to safeguard against?
Well, we don't like what we call hiccups. Nobody wants that to happen. Everybody wants to meet that closing date. Typically, that's within 30 days. And so we don't like when hiccups come along. And so communication is the key. And it's so nice to work with great partners like yourself and the O'Dell team, because we know that if we have something that we think's a problem, we can get a hold of you. You guys will help us try and resolve it, because we all have the same goal. Everybody wants that transaction to be completed on time and as smooth as absolutely possible, because quite frankly, we all rely in this business on referrals. And if the client's not happy and it didn't go smooth, then they're probably not going to refer either one of us. And so we want to make sure that the communication is there between you, your team, and us. And so that's why we try to get out our title commitments, to you guys within a timely fashion, so you can look them over to see if there's something on there that needs to be addressed. I personally teach what we call Title 101 classes, and it's on how to read that commitment, what to understand. I even had a broker ask me recently if I could put together some definitions of what's in the title commitment, and so what it means, and then what the agent should look for with that. So we recently put that together to get out to agents to help them understand, because like I said, what we don't want surprises at the closing table, because that's just the absolute worst, because then everybody's unhappy, everybody's upset. And so it's just communication, and working together. We're not the bad guy just because there's something we think's a problem, and we're calling you because we're saying, hey, this is what we see as a potential problem. How can we fix this? And one of the reasons I went to work for Platinum Title is because I can tell from you guys and the folks that do business with us that you understand we're willing to try and help you fix every problem. We're not just throwing out problems and then leaving it up to you. We're saying, hey, here's something we see as a problem. Here's how we think we can fix it. Can you help us get that done? And that's the goal, like I said, is to get the transaction closed for both parties, for the seller and the buyer.
And that's happened. That's happened from time to time.
It does.
And I got to tell you, and that's why when the phone rings, like, if it's anybody at Platinum, I'm answering my phone right now. And so is anybody on the team, right? Doesn't matter what time or day. And I think one of the things that when we recommend any of our vendors, it's just always like, this person will pick up the phone if things go sideways. I mean, and that kind of is like the priority for us. It's like, this isn't some person off in who knows where that, may or may not pick up the phone we need them, but they're gonna pick up the phone. When
Yeah,
we call.
I tell
Yeah.
everybody my business card has my cell phone number on
Yeah.
it. My background, as you guys know, because I've known you guys for a long time, is always been real estate. I've done nothing but real estate. I got a real estate license right out of high school. Was not a very good agent, but anyway, I've done everything real estate, and for the last 6.5 years, I've done the title side of it, and I realize transactions don't happen between 8 and 5 Monday through Friday.
They don't.
You know, most of the time they happen from 5 to
Yeah.
10, and it's on a Saturday. I mean, a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, I was in the back end of a boat down at the Lake of the Ozarks trying to fix a dead battery, and got a phone call from an agent who had a question, and quite honestly, I didn't know the answer, but I know the owner of the company's cell phone number. I have our underwriter's contact information, our closer's information. And I was able to text a few people, and I got them an answer back. And this was on a Saturday afternoon. You know, I mean, and you know, because they needed that answer, they needed to give their client an answer, and that's really one of the reasons I love working for Platinum Title, is because, you know, we want to make sure that we're servicing you guys the best we can. Yeah, we all need to have time to go play and have fun and stuff like that, but you know, like I said, we try to be available as much as possible.
So at this point, is there anything else that you wish that homeowners and buyers understood about this topic?
Well, again, you know, sometimes when we call with questions, just understand we're trying to make sure that we can issue that title commitment, that policy to your client if you're on the buy side of the transaction, because we want to make sure they're protected. You know, the biggest thing, and this is why I love going to new licensing classes and teaching Title 101, and I tell every agent or potential new agent in that class is, please read the title commitment when we send it to you. We typically send those out in between 4 and 5 days after you've sent the order to us. And, you know, I can tell you quite honestly, there's many people who look at their compliance checklist and say, oh yeah, I got the title commitment, but they didn't read it.
Yeah.
And there are some things in there that sometimes need to be addressed. But the flip side of that too is, we sent out an ALTA, which we try to send out 3 to 4 days before closing. And I had an agent call me that said, hey, you guys missed a second mortgage. There's supposed to be a second mortgage on here that needs to be paid off. We said, what? Hang on a second. We went back, redid our search, went back to the agent and said, we didn't miss a second mortgage. There's no second mortgage recorded on this property. And she said, absolutely there is. Well, we found out the seller had gotten a loan from a bank in a small town. They actually signed them up and gave them a second mortgage, but they never recorded the second mortgage. And so, you know, so it can happen both ways, you know. I mean, you know, like I said, but the biggest thing is just making sure everybody's aware. We've had cases where a person was selling a $300,000 home, and on the title commitment we showed he had $1 million judgment against him. And you know, the agent unfortunately didn't want to pick up the phone and have that conversation with that seller saying, hey Tom, you know, you're selling a $300,000 house, but you have $1 million judgment. Well, he knew he had the $1 million judgment, and when we had the conversation with him, he goes, oh yeah, it was an old business deal. It was a former business partner. He took liens on all my properties, and he'll accept a smaller amount. Great, we just need to get the payoff from him and what he'll accept. And we did, we got it worked out. But it's things like that, you know. It's not that we're trying to be the bad guy and we're trying to kill
No, avoiding conversations though is not a good, that's not a good way to operate in our business.
And like I said, I mean, what we really don't want is problems at the closing table. We want, you know, that's time everybody's happy, everybody's excited, especially if it's their first home. You know, we want everybody to walk away and go, wow, you know, and then they'll refer you, and ultimately, hopefully, they'll refer people to us and talk about what a great experience.
We hope you found this information informative, and if you have any questions whatsoever, having a good title partner, like I said, is always critical to the process. But having an agent that you can trust is paramount. So if we can ever help you, don't hesitate to reach out.